The name of this story is Cecil Lewis Knew How to Have Fun. You know, today kids have video games and smartphones and all kinds of entertainment. But back in the day, we had Cecil Lewis. Believe me, he kept us entertained. Now, if you start talking about fishing with a telephone, most people have no idea what you're talking about. I grew up around Smithwick, you know. All it took was one of those old-timey crank telephones and to put it in a boat and go out and start turning it, and next thing you know, you'd have a boat full of fish. When that electric current hit those catfish, they figured out pretty quick it's time to take a little afternoon nap, or some of them would try to jump in the boat with you. A good boat driver and somebody handy with a dip net, and you could have a whole boatload of catfish before anybody doing it the conventional way could have their first hook baited. I'm not recommending anybody try that today, but you know, those game wardens get kind of edgy about that sort of thing. Besides, this story's not about that. It's about Cecil Lewis. He had a special talent. He knew how to entertain a house full of kids. He'd get Mama's old big glass bowl, one that she used mostly for cooking, but putting pinto beans in to soak overnight and stuff like that. When company would come over and there'd be a bunch of us kids around, that bowl had another purpose. He'd set it out there on the table and fill it up with water. Then he'd bring his old crank telephone out and drop those wires off in it and start dumping coins in it. Quarters, 50-cent pieces. Sometimes you'd even put some silver dollars in there too. And every kid in the room would suddenly get interested. Cecil would start turning the crank. Then he'd grin and say, "Come on, who's first?" Of course, before any of us got a turn, he'd demonstrate what to do. He'd reach down in that electrified water and scoop up a handful of coins. He'd never even flinch. At least that's how he made it look. Now, I don't know whether Cecil Lewis had a higher tolerance of electricity than most people or just a better poker face than the rest of us, but he sure did make it look easy. The rest of us, well, not so much. Most kids would stick their hand in that water and immediately get shocked and jerk their hand right back out again. They'd all be squealing and jumping and laughing, and usually someone would holler, "I almost had it." I finally figured out the little old trick. If you slid your hand down the edge of the bowl, you could get to the coins without it shocking too much and grab your handful of those coins and come out of there before your brain had time to tell you it wasn't that good of an idea. Once the other kids saw you do it, then they sure enough wanted a turn. Our old Cecil would be just standing there grinning, watching the whole show. After all the money had finally been won, the telephone generator would be put away and somebody would roll out the old hand crank ice cream freezer and we'd start taking turns cranking that instead. Back then there wasn't any electricity involved. It was just a matter of turning that crank till the ice cream got made. Looking back, it really wasn't about the money, and it wasn't about a telephone. It wasn't even about the ice cream. It was about one man who knew exactly how to turn an ordinary evening into something kids would still be laughing about 60 or 70 years later. That's the kind of fun you just don't see much anymore.